and welcome. You're watching News Night on DD India. Well, after launching world's largest vaccination drive on January 16th, on Saturday, India administered the second dose of COVID vaccine to those who were administered the first dose. In focus tonight, we discuss second round of COVID vaccine booster and India's vaccine matrix moving from strength to strength. But first up on News Night, here are the headlines. Lok Sabha passes Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2021, slamming the opposition of dividing the bureaucracy on religious lines. Home Minister says there is no link between the bill and statehood. Home Minister also states centre will definitely restore the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, but at the appropriate time. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman replies on the budget discussion in the Lok Sabha in Indian Parliament. Finance Minister says stimulus and reforms taken by the ruling dispensation will accelerate the pace of making India self-reliant. Finance Minister further adds Budget 2021 will provide necessary impetus to the growth of the economy affected by COVID-19 situation. The first leg of the budget session concludes. The House would reconvene on March 8th after a recess. More than 99% of the business being transacted in the first leg of the budget session with passage of two important bills from both houses. Prime Minister to visit Kerala and Tamil Nadu on Sunday. Both states down south get a big infrastructure and developmental push. Prime Minister to hand over the state-of-the-art Arjun main battle tank Mk1A to the Indian Army, and also Prime Minister to inaugurate second phase of the Chennai Metro Rail project costing rupees 3,770 crore. India's battle against COVID-19 continues. Second dose of vaccination begins till now. Total of over 80 lakh people are given vaccine. Continuous decline in active cases visible. Recovery rate further climbs to 97.32%. In international news, crisis continues in Myanmar. Protests for the 8th consecutive day. United Nations human rights body passes proposal of releasing all people taken in custody. Worldwide condemnation over military coup in Myanmar intensifies. And India in a strong position in Chennai Test on first day against England. On the back of the incredible batting by Rohit Sharma, India scores 300 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. Rehane chips in half century. Visitors return to the venue with Chennai Test. It is a World Radio Day. Sending greetings on the occasion, Prime Minister Modi calls radio a fantastic medium which deepens social connect. I'm Sagarmala. You're watching News 9, and for our top story in detail. The first leg of the budget session of the Indian Parliament ended with Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman speaking in the Lok Sabha on reforms and the push for self-reliance. In other significant development, Home Minister Amit Shah also states that the centre will definitely restore the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, but at the appropriate time. Home Minister was addressing MPs during the debate on the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2021. The bill was later passed by the lower house through voice vote.
On the last day of the budget session, Lok Sabha passed the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2021. Speaking on the bill, Union Home Minister Amit Shah accused the opposition of dividing the bureaucracy on religious lines. Amit Shah warned the opposition not to spread fake news that Jammu and Kashmir would be denied of its statehood and clarified that the bill has nothing to do with that.
कहीं पर भी नहीं लिखा है कि स्टेटहुड इसे नहीं मिलेगा। आप कहां से ड्रॉ करते हो? आपकी मन की आशंकाओं को जम्मू कश्मीर की जनता पर क्यों थोप रहे हो? मैंने इसी सदन में कहा है और फिर से कहता हूं कि इस बिल का जम्मू कश्मीर के स्टेटहुड से कोई लेन देन नहीं है। उपयुक्त समय पर जम्मू कश्मीर को स्टेटहुड दिया जाएगा।
The centre also appealed to the members to understand the situation of J&K and refrain from giving political statements which proved to be counterproductive for the youth of the region.
जिनको पीढ़ियों तक शासन करने का मौका दिया, वो जरा अपने गिरेबान में झांक कर देखे कि हम हिसाब मांगने के लायक है या नहीं।
Amit Shah also assured that no one's land will be acquired for starting industries and said that no one can take away the land of the people. He said that the success of panchayat and local body elections is a mandate against all the forces who supported 370 in the region. Amit Shah said that cent% electrification of the state has been achieved in the last 17 months, adding that by 2022, the region will also have rail connectivity. He declared that 25,000 government jobs shall be given to J&K youth by 2022.
जम्मू कश्मीर के उद्योग के लिए सबसे बड़ा हर्डल था, वहां कोई भी उद्योगपति उद्योग लगाना चाहे तो उसको भूमि नहीं मिल सकती थी। धारा 370 हटाई, उसके बाद में जमीन के कानून के हमने परिवर्तन किया और अब ऐसी स्थिति हुई है कि जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर उद्योग लग पाए। 6 महीने पहले ही हम कानून लाए और अब मिल पाएगी, इसलिए उद्योग भी आएंगे और उद्योग को आने के लिए सबसे अच्छा प्रोत्साहन पैकेज नरेंद्र मोदी जी की अगुवाई में भारत सरकार लाई है, अप्रूव किया है और जम्मू कश्मीर सरकार ने भी इसको अप्रूव कर दिया है।
Earlier, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was at her attacking best while replying to the general discussion on the Union budget for 2021-2022 in the Lok Sabha. Sitharaman said that stimulus and reforms undertaken by the government will set up the pace to make India self-reliant. She said Budget 2021 will provide necessary impetus to the growth of the economy affected by the COVID-19 situation.
I think what I want to highlight is, as I said at the beginning, stimulus plus reforms. An opportunity has been taken out of the pandemic situation, a challenging situation of the pandemic, did not deter the government, did not deter us from taking up reforms which are going to be necessary for sustaining a long-term growth for this country.
Sitharaman insisted that the budget is aimed at realizing PM Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, rebutting the opposition's claim that the union budget favors crony capitalism. Sitharaman accused the opposition led by the Congress party of raising a false narrative against the elected government at the centre.
Raising 10 questions for Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, Nirmala Sitharaman asked as to why Congress first mentioned farm reforms in its manifesto of 2019 and then made a U-turn. Also, why Congress could not implement the farm waivers.
We don't do work for any damads. We don't do work for any cronies. We work for the common citizen who believes in the Prime Minister.
Finance Minister further said that the government took the challenge as an opportunity and took the steps for the long-term growth of the economy. She said various policy initiatives taken by the government will lead the country to become the top economy in the world. On allocation to the defence sector, Sitharaman clarified that 18.8% capital expenditure has been increased for defence, and so has been the hike in health sector by 137%, which is phenomenal. She added that the budget has been carefully planned on the directions of the PMO to provide the much-needed impetus to the small and medium sector. Vishal Baristo's report, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And Lok Sabha was adjourned on Saturday as the first leg of the budget session also concluded. The House would now reconvene on 8th of March after recess. Talking about the legislative business that was transacted in Rajya Sabha, the upper house saw 99% business being transacted during the first half of the budget session. The discussion on motion of thanks on the President's address also in this session continued for marathon 15 hours. Here's a detailed report.
During the first part of the budget session of Parliament, there was heavy legislative business transacted in both houses of Parliament. In the first week, face-off was seen between Treasury and opposition benches, leading to stalling of proceedings of Parliament. But the next week saw both houses of Parliament sitting late to finish pending legislative business. During the current week, as compared to the previous week, Rajya Sabha saw more legislative business being transacted, while the lower house of Parliament also proceedings continued late into the night. In both houses of Parliament, discussion took place on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Also, reply to the discussion on the budget in both houses was given by Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. The bills which were passed in the first part of the budget session in both houses of Parliament include Jammu Kashmir Reorganisation Amendment Bill 2021 and Major Port Authorities Bill 2020. While the National Capital Territory of Delhi Laws Special Provisions Second Amendment Bill 2021 was passed by the Rajya Sabha, The Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bill 2021 was passed by the Lok Sabha after discussion. Talking of legislative business transacted in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house saw 99% business being transacted during the first half of the budget session. The discussion on motion of thanks on the President's address continued for 15 hours. 88 issues of public interest were raised, that included 56 during the 0 hour and 25 special mention, while 99.50% business was transacted by the Lok Sabha, the lower house of Parliament.
प्रतिपक्ष के सभी दलों के नेताओं का मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं, जिनके सहयोग से ये सदन देर रात्रि तक चला। माननीय सभी संसद सदस्यों ने राष्ट्रपति अभिभाषण पर, बजट पर देर रात्रि तक चर्चा की, संवाद किए, अपने महत्वपूर्ण सुझाव रखे।
Due to corona pandemic, for maintaining physical distance, the proceedings of Parliament were held in 2 shifts. The first half of the budget session started with the President's address on 29th January, and Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union budget on 1st of February. The second half of the budget session will start from 8th March. With Parliament team, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Moving on, India has rolled out nearly 23 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to more than 20 countries around the world, both as grants as well as aid and commercial supplies. Now, the supplies under the Vaccine Maitri initiative, which began on January 21st, has earned India a tremendous amount of goodwill internationally. Ministry of External Affairs states that India would continue to take forward the global vaccine supply initiative and cover more and more countries, but in a phased manner. And this has gone beyond India's immediate neighbourhood policy. The vaccines have also been sent across as grants to countries in the Indian Ocean region, West Asia as well as Caribbean. And also the good news that India also started administering the second dose of COVID-19 vaccines, that is Covishield and Covaxin, to the healthcare workers on Saturday. Now, vaccine has been given to those beneficiaries, remember, who have actually taken the first dose on 16th of January. That's when the mega vaccination drive was launched nationally. India started administering the second dose of COVID-19 vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin, to the healthcare workers on Saturday. Vaccine is being given to those beneficiaries who have taken the first dose on 16th of January, the day when the world's biggest immunization drive was launched. In the first phase, more than 400 frontline workers were inoculated, spread across 81 centers nationwide. The second dose will be given to the beneficiaries after an interval of 28 days of the first dose being administered on January 16th. The Health Ministry held a press conference giving details of the second dose being administered on Saturday.
कुल टीकाकरण जितने लाभार्थियों का किया गया है उनकी संख्या है 80,52,454 और जो वैक्सीनेशन है जो हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स की गई है वो है 59,35,275। इनमें से जो प्रथम डोज जिनको लगी है टीकाकरण की वो है 59,27,607 और जो दूसरी डोज जिन लोगों को लगी है जो कि 13 फरवरी से उनकी संख्या है 7,668।
The second dose of the COVID vaccine was administered to those who took the first shot on day 1 of the nationwide inoculation drive on January 16th. After healthcare workers were administered the first dose, subsequently from 2nd February onwards, frontline workers were also getting inoculated.
जिन्होंने टीकाकरण लिया था उनको हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट कराने की जरूरत पड़ी, उनकी संख्या 0 है। अब तक जो टोटल हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन के केसेस हैं वो 34 हैं, जिनमें से 21 लोगों को उपचार के उपरांत डिस्चार्ज कर दिया गया।
Meanwhile, after launching world's largest vaccination drive, India's diplomatic initiative Vaccine Maitri continues to reach out to various countries across the globe. Caribbean community has expressed gratitude to Prime Minister Modi for India's donation of COVID-19 vaccine doses to member states of Caribbean community under India's Vaccine Maitri exercise. CARICOM head Timothy Harris, who is also the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, appreciated Prime Minister Modi for making generous contributions of coronavirus vaccines and urged G7 countries to follow India's lead. Meanwhile, the total active cases of the country have further shrunk to 1.25% of the total cases. Only 645 new cases were recorded in last 24 hours, while 11,395 new recoveries were registered in the same period. National recovery rate continues to be one of the highest worldwide. With inputs from Girish Nishana, News Night Desk for DT India. And in focus tonight, we not only put in perspective vaccine Maitri that continues to move from strength to strength in terms of expands and grows, but also talk about in focus tonight how India fights COVID-19. India fights COVID-19. We take a look at the big picture. Remember, today the second phase of the vaccines also kick-started. And to do so, we are joined by Dr. S.K. Sareen, Director ILBS, and also Ambassador Mohan Kumar, former senior diplomat, on the show. I'm going to quickly go to Dr. Sareen just to understand how the first dose phase and today subsequently the second dose phase also started. What are the observations and how do you look back? How do you look back the 28 days that have gone by and the implementation of this vaccination drive, which is touted as the largest in the world? And do you see there is a direct correlation, Dr. Sareen, the declining caseload and the upswing in the recovery rate?
Well, looking back the last 28 days, and I would say from the beginning of the year, it has been remarkable. There was a lot of vaccine hesitancy. There was a lot of questions people raised about the vaccines made in India or made by India for Oxford and others. But I think all those are now past. We have moved forward, and vaccinating 8 million is actually an amazing feat. So I would say we have taken long strides, fast strides, clear, bold actions. And people have benefited. Now the second phase starts, but before that, some more reflections that I would like to say.
Sure.
India took about, let's say, 27 days, 28 days to do that. And now the speed that we have to do is to be much faster. The second part is how, as a clinician, as a person who has been looking at it carefully, I say now the lines, the queues are much longer. People line up at 9 in the morning. I can just say that we have to really look into the crowds which will be coming. And now, since the second phase is going to start, we have to look into those who are coming for first shot in the morning, second shot in the afternoon. To me, it's a huge, huge step. Also, the vaccine capabilities in India are huge. So I feel very comfortable as far as this drive. I have several other points to say, but
yes,
let's see how we discuss this vaccination second part.
Yes, we will factor in, yes, Dr. Sareen, we will factor in the other points also that you want to share. Meanwhile, let me quickly go across and also take opening remarks from Ambassador Mohan Kumar. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, a quick one on vaccine Maitri, which it's very clear that it has not only actually become the talking point across the globe. We've got a lot of traction on that as far as India's image abroad is concerned. We have been ahead of the curve, and that is something which continues to stay like that. But my question to you is, what do you have to say about the scale and expanse of Vaccine Maitri initiative? 20 plus countries, and now this is, I think, going beyond the neighborhood first policy of India. We're going much beyond that.
Thank you very much for having me. In order to appreciate and answer your question, you have to go to the beginning of COVID, when there was a lot of skepticism expressed about India in the Western press. They said, forget about India helping anybody else. The question that was asked is, can India help itself? That was the question. I vividly remember reading articles in the Western press that India is going to have a huge problem tackling its own population. So forget about helping anybody else. What we have proved today, as Dr. Sareen so eloquently said a little while ago, we have brought our caseload down and we have gone ahead at every step to help the world. When the world did not have masks, we helped them. When the world did not have paracetamol, remdesivir and hydrochloroquine, India supplied it. When the world doesn't have vaccines, especially the low-income countries, we are helping them. To top it all, India has a contract with the United Nations to also supply to the Gavi scheme that they have worldwide. So all in all, it has not just been about India supplying. Please bear in mind that India has done this against all odds, because the general view prevalent 8 months ago was that forget about India helping anybody else. Can India help itself? I am so delighted that we have proved the skeptics wrong.
And we continue to do so. Does that also bring India on high table? Because we are not one of those countries, Ambassador Kumar, you would agree, that talking about the vaccine nationalism, the talking about so-called quid pro quo, getting into the competition and all of that. We are our priorities are more on humanitarian lines. We are beyond this.
Absolutely, Sakal. I think what India has been able to do is, by being a friend in need to countries which otherwise would not have got anything, number one, because if I may say so somewhat bluntly, the developed and the rich countries have been fairly selfish. They have over-ordered vaccines for a population of just 16 million, 16% of the world population. They have cornered 75% of the vaccines. You needed someone like India to come forward and help CARICOM countries. You were talking about it in your news item. So that had to be done. More importantly, we have attacked what is known as vaccine inequality. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Because there is a tremendous inequality in terms of access. And I can say that India can proudly feel justified that it has used its ability, its enormous prestige as pharmacy of the world to diminish vaccine inequality. So I would say all in all, it's been a fantastic accumulation of soft power, which for diplomacy, you will appreciate, is a tremendous asset.
Okay, let me quickly go to Dr. Sareen, Ambassador Kumar. Dr. Sareen, what are the challenges now that you can foresee? Are there any challenges on ground further as we increase the expanse of this vaccination drive that has been launched nationally?
Well, there are many challenges. First, let me tell you, you said there is a decline in the curve of the infections that we are facing or seeing now. I think that is part of the natural curve, because you can't have a decline the next day that you start giving vaccine. So let it be clear that this is not the effect of the vaccination.
Yes.
The effect of vaccination will start after the second dose, not after the first dose. In fact, if you give the first shot, even with the mRNA, the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine, it takes about 12 to 15 days, and same is true for any of our vaccines. So you don't expect even the body to start sensing the protein of the virus in the first 2 weeks, and then it starts making its own machinery to make antibodies. So the decline in the number of infections or the patients is, in this what we are seeing now, is probably not because of the vaccine. It is the natural course of the viral infection. The second part I see is the challenges that we have done 8 million in 1 month. We want to vaccinate 300 million by July. So how much, if you have simple mathematics, you need to do 60 million per month.
Yes.
To achieve in 5 months 300 million. And we have done 8 million, and you need 300 million. And 300 million will need another dose. So that means 600 million dosages. Now, I'm sure we are ready. I'm sure we can do it. We just need to show we can do it. And that means that we have to invite more people, more maybe private players, maybe more corporates, maybe other people to take on the responsibility. Maybe slowly and slowly it will go down to even your next door neighbor doctor who can give it. So what we need now is to see how rapidly we can expand our capability of vaccinating 300 million people by July. Now, another challenge in the same scenario would be that should we be excluding X group or Y group, let's say elderly people? Should we be excluding those with comorbidities but they are less than 50? Those people who are vulnerable because of, let's say, cancer or because of other diseases? All these have been debated, and the eagerly waiting general public. So all these have to be looked into. In my opinion, the vaccine capability, as Ambassador Kumar has very rightly said, in India is tremendous, and I'll come to it in a minute again. What we need now is that we have carefully monitored vaccination centers in people's involvement, and we need to upscale it. I have a suggestion. We don't need to do it sequentially. We do this and then we do this. I think we can now, having tasted water, having tested the depth of the problem, we can just, kind of run concurrently many such vaccination sites. I'll give you an example. We started in the Institute for Liver, one site for 100.
Yes,
now
sir.
we are running 5 sites.
Doctor,
and today morning when I went and saw, at 9 there
Dr.
was
Said,
a
I'm
queue,
sorry, I'm
500
interrupting
people
you
get
here.
it every day.
Yes.
And that means in 2 days, 1,000. And many such places can be developed in Delhi or across India. What I want to emphasize is the speed. And the speed is necessary because there is a lurking fear. All viruses, and including corona, can mutate.
We'll come to that,
So
Dr. Serene. A quick point here.
We need to vaccinate our people, and we need to give the second dose in time for all these people. So we have huge challenges, not small.
No, agree.
These
Totally
are
agree. Challenges are part of the game.
Implementation, not of the vaccine.
Challenges, implementing it. Dr.
Indian
Serene, the
vaccine,
fact
what
remains.
we have is an inactivated full virus vaccine, and I hope scientifically this vaccine may be probably able to handle all variants. In fact, the UK or the South African or the Brazilian mutants. So we have vaccine which probably is a shade ahead. It's conventional, but a shade ahead of the mRNA, the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine.
All right, point taken. Let me quickly go across to Ambassador Kumar also here. Ambassador Kumar, on that point that we have a target set. We are ready, or we are getting ready. There's a system in place. There's a proper mechanism in place when it comes to this mega inoculation drive, which happens to be the largest in the world. When we are ready to meet our domestic needs, at the same time, we are catering to the international needs as well, especially the countries who are in need. My question to you is, not getting into the complexity of diplomacy, when it comes to India's vaccine Maitri, do you think because of this also as an international currency, there has been a reset in the way now world looks at India, reset in that template?
Yes, I would agree with your assessment. First, there is the image, and don't forget that India is known as the pharmacy of the world. I remember going to South Korea, and a minister in South Korea looked at me and said, all our babies have a bit of India in them. I said, Mr. Minister, what do you mean by that? He said, well, 80% of the vaccines used in South Korean babies come from India. It is India which manufactures these vaccines. He's not talking of COVID vaccine, he was talking of other vaccines which babies use. So we have a reputation to keep. And that reputation, I believe, stands strongly enhanced because of our performance. Secondly, I see some spin-off benefits because we have constantly struggled against Western pharmaceutical products. India has, as you know, a strong generic pharmaceutical industry. And yet, when it comes to Europe and America, there is a tendency to look down on Indian generic products. What this vaccine Maitri will do is to put India amongst the best quality suppliers in the world. Not just because COVID is not a matter of headache or asthma or cold. COVID is a matter of life or death.
Correct.
So when somebody trusts the Indian vaccine, there is a tremendous shot in the arm for the entire Indian pharmaceutical industry. I see that as a very lasting advantage for India, in addition to other enhancement of image and our record. The Prime Minister went to the UN General Assembly in September and said that whatever we have, we will share with the world. There are very few people who thought that, okay, maybe all politicians come, they speak in the UN General Assembly and everybody forgets. India has not forgotten. The Prime Minister's statement has been kept. That promise has been delivered. And I think that is a tremendous diplomatic achievement for India.
Okay. Tremendous diplomatic achievement for India. At the same time, tremendous breakthrough on the domestic front as well. Dr. Sareen, very quickly, there were a lot of apprehensions and also misinformation fueled by certain quarters prior to the launching of the vaccination mega drive about the efficacy of the vaccine, about the side effects of the vaccine, and all of that. Now, at the end of the phase 1 and the kind of humongous response that we see in the second phase itself, and what do you have to tell to those skeptics, critics, and also most importantly, the viewers who are tuned to this show, that this is an absolute safe and efficient vaccine?
Well, as far as Covishield, the one from Serum Institute, the data had been published, and both the UK and the Indian cohorts, they showed very good antibody response. As far as our own Indian vaccine, the one with Bharat Biotech, the Covaxin, the initial phase 1 and 2 data was very good. I duly hope that the phase 3 data should be available early March or so. But this is the way all the vaccine, this is called as rolling review process. Rolling review is you keep giving vaccine in an emergency authorization and keep seeing. And I do hope that the phase 1, phase 2 data, which was very good, will be reproduced. Even better results are expected in the phase 3, which should be available sometimes in next 2 weeks or so. Now the skeptics may have a point that, well, we started like this, but the Sputnik vaccine, the Russian vaccine which was done, the phase 3 data has just now been published, but the vaccine was started sometimes in September in Moscow and other countries. Same was true for other vaccines. So I do not think scientifically now there is any point, any cause of worry. Safety, yes, we have seen it is safe. Reactogenicity, we have seen. It is just that how the trend, and I think it will be more efficacious as far as the mutant virus is concerned. But let me tell you one thing. Till the time we have all the data, and the time 300 million people or who all are likely to get infected, we have to behave as if we haven't got a vaccine. We do not have to loosen our guards like mask or the social norms that we have to follow as a COVID appropriate behavior. So we need to move fast. We need to get vaccinated. I have faith, full faith in the vaccines that are available in India. I also hope that in next 2 months or so, India will add 3 or 4 new vaccines, made in India vaccines, which will be useful for not only the country but for all over the world. As Ambassador Kumar very rightly says, I don't think it is diplomacy from my point of view. From his point of view, it is diplomacy. From my point of view, it is saving lives. Whoever is living, can you save life as a doctor, as a clinician? Yes, this is our duty. If we can, we should. And well, diplomacy may come as thanks from their side. But from my side, saving life in South Africa or UK is as important probably as anywhere in the world, including India.
Yes, and final word from Ambassador Kumar.
So I see this as having a profound impact on 3 categories of countries. One, I appreciate very much the last words spoken by Dr. Sareen, and he's absolutely right. I think there is a nobler objective than just diplomacy, but I am an ex-diplomat, so I looked at it that way. But I appreciate what he says. In the neighborhood I think our efforts have borne fruit, and that is extremely important. I have in mind Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Seychelles. So the neighborhood and the extended neighborhood, because if we don't help the neighbors, who else will help them? So that is the
Correct.
first. The second, I would say, is low-income countries in Africa and CARICOM, which the world would have otherwise forgotten. The world, a lot of countries, developed, rich countries, pay lip service to these countries. But when it comes to help, they don't help them. So I'm so happy that we have picked countries in Africa and low-income countries which we are helping. And finally, of course, India supporting the United Nations effort, the Gavi vaccine effort is also a tremendous boost for Indian diplomacy in the UN system, especially when India is seeking a seat in the Permanent Security Council.
Yes. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Ambassador Kumar and Dr. Serene, for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Thank you. And let's quickly talk about the COVID global numbers. Take a look at the updates on the COVID-19 front from across the world. Now, the tally of the COVID-19 cases worldwide has crossed 10 crore 87 lakh 12,368 mark, while the total recovery stand at 8 crore 7 lakh 21,609. The COVID-19 disease has claimed over 23 lakh 95,000 lives globally. United States continues to remain the worst hit from COVID-19, where more than 2 crore 81 lakh 6,704 cases have been registered. US has lost over 4 lakh 92,000 lives due to COVID-19 and continues to be the worst hit. Well, back home, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be arriving on a day's visit to Chennai down south tomorrow. Prime Minister will be inaugurating a slew of developmental projects, including laying the foundation stone of the reconstruction of South Coal Berth at Cochin port. Here's a detailed report.
During his visit to Kerala, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the international cruise terminal Sagarmala at the Cochin port. The cruise terminal is India's first full-fledged international cruise terminal that has state-of-the-art facilities and has been constructed at a cost of 25.72 crore rupees. Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation the Ro-Ro vessels at Willingdon Islands, Cochin. The International Waterway Authority of India will deploy 2 new roll-on, roll-off vessels between Bolgatti and Willingdon Island on National Waterway 3. The Ro-Ro vessels, named MV Adi Shankara and MV CV Raman, have the capacity to carry 6 20-feet trucks, 3 20-feet trailer trucks, 3 40-feet trailer trucks and 30 passengers each. Both the projects are historic as well as path-breaking.
मैरीटाइम सेक्टर में विजन है वाटर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बढ़े. कोचिन पोर्ट से साउथ केरला में कार्गो ले जाने के लिए सारा टाउन को घूम के ट्रक को जाना पड़ता था. अभी ये रोरो फेरी चालू होने से कोचिन पोर्ट पर जो कार्गो आएगा वो केवल 4 किलोमीटर डिस्टेंस से डायरेक्ट साउथ केरला में चला जाएंगे. उससे फ्यूल की भी बचत होगी, एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली होंगे और यातायात में सुविधा होगी.
Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone of the reconstruction of the South Coal Berth at Cochin port. It has been reconstructed at an estimated cost of 19.19 crore rupees under the Sagarmala scheme. Upon completion, a dedicated berthing facility will be available for chemical handling at Cochin port. Reconstruction of the berth will ensure quick and efficient handling of cargo and reduce logistics cost. Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation the Propylene Derivative Petrochemical Project Pdpp of Bpcl. The complex is expected to result in savings of about 3,700 to 4,000 crore rupees per annum in foreign exchange. With the commissioning, Kochi refinery has become the first Indian refinery to produce niche petrochemicals.
प्रोपलिन से सीधा टेक्सटाइल, पेंट्स, एडेसिव ऐसे इंडस्ट्री के लिए जो आज के दिनों में हम उसको आवश्यकता को पूरा करने के लिए इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. सालाना 4,000 करोड़ रुपया की इंपोर्ट इसी प्लांट के कारण बचत होगी. अभी हम इंपोर्ट डिपेंडेंट है इस सारे प्रोडक्ट के लिए. ये निश्चित रूप में आत्मनिर्भर भारत की ओर एक बड़ी पहल है. केरल की अर्थनीति में, केरल की रोजगार में, केरल की राजस्व आमदनी में ये एक बहुत बड़ा कदम होगा.
Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Marine Engineering Training Institute Vigyana Sagar, Cochin Shipyard Limited. It is a premier maritime learning center and is the only maritime institute in India functioning within a shipyard. Constructed at a capital cost of 27.5 crore rupees, the institute has an intake capacity of 114 fresh graduates. It will create a talent pool of marine engineers and personnel to fulfill the requirements of the maritime industry in India and abroad.
Prime Minister Modi will dedicate to the nation many big projects like Marine Engineering Institute, including International Cruise Terminal to promote tourism. A fleet of cargo ships in the Wellington Islands will also help and accelerate the pace of development of Kerala. With my colleague Vibhav Rai and cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Anuj Yadav from DD News, Kochi.
Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Tamil Nadu on Sunday. Like we told you, he will be handing over the state-of-the-art Arjun main battle tank to the Indian Army at Chennai and also inaugurate Chennai Metro Rail Phase 1 extension. Prime Minister will also be laying the foundation stone for several projects in the southern Indian state of Kerala as well. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stones for several crucial projects in Chennai on Sunday. These projects will add momentum to the growth trajectory of Tamil Nadu and help hasten the pace of realizing its full development potential. Included in the Prime Minister's itinerary is the inauguration of the extension of Chennai Metro Rail Phase 1, which has been completed at a cost of nearly 3,770 crore rupees. Prime Minister will also inaugurate the line from Washerman Pit to Bimco Nagar on the occasion. This 9.05 km long extension line will link North Chennai with the airport and central railway station. Prime Minister will inaugurate the 4th railway line between Chennai Beach and Attipattu. This 22.1 km section, laid at a cost of 293.40 crore rupees, traverses through Chennai and Thiruvallur districts and will ease out traffic from Chennai port. Prime Minister will also inaugurate the railway electrification of single-line section in Vilupuram, Kadalur, Mayilathurai, Tanjavur and Mayilathurai, Tiruvarur. Completed at a cost of 423 crore rupees, the electrification of this 228-kilometer route will enable free flow of traffic without the need for a change of traction between Chennai, Egmore and Kanyakumari and would result in a saving of Rs 14.61 lakh per day on fuel cost. During the event, the Prime Minister will hand over the state-of-the-art Arjun main battle tank Mark 1A to the Indian Army. This battle tank has been indigenously designed, developed and manufactured by Combat Vehicle Research and Development Establishment and DRDO, along with 15 academic institutions, 8 labs and several MSMEs. The Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone for the extension, renovation and modernization of the grand Anicut canal system that plays a key role in irrigation in the Delta districts. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone for a satellite campus of IIT Madras called Discover the Campus. It will be built at Thayur near Chennai at an estimated cost of 1,000 crore rupees in the first phase. Prime Minister's visit will add an impetus to the infrastructure push in Tamil Nadu. It will prove to be a great and significant visit, not only for this generation, but for many coming generations too. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And shifting focus to Uttarakhand, where rescue operations by various agencies continue on war footing on the 7th consecutive day today. Meanwhile, 38 dead bodies have been recovered so far, out of which 12 bodies have been identified already. DNA of all those bodies which have not been identified has been preserved. 166 people in Uttarakhand are still missing.
In Uttarakhand, the relief and rescue operations are going on at war footing in Tapavan and Reni village in the Chamoli district. In Tapavan, administration has deployed a special machine for drilling. Drilling is completed for almost 136 meters inside the tunnel. Excavation of a 180-meter long tunnel is also going on. NDRF teams are engaged in search operations in the area.
रैनी साइड पे 5 हमारी मशीनें लगी हुई हैं, 4 एक्सकवेटर और 1 डोजर, और यहाँ पे वो साइड थी जहाँ पे ऋषि गंगा का प्लांट था और वो पूरी तरह से बह चुका है। तो जो भी हमारे पुराने फोटोग्राफ्स हैं उनसे इनपुट्स लेकर या फिर यहाँ के लोकल लोगों से इनपुट्स लेकर वहाँ पे एक्सकवेशन का काम किया जा रहा है। टनल पे भी हमारा 136 मीटर तक की खुदाई हो चुकी है।
टनल का काम भी लगातार 24 घंटे जारी है। वहाँ पे तो रात में भी काम में विश्राम नहीं लिया जा रहा है। वहाँ पे लिमिटेशन जरूर है और हमारी टीम अदर एजेंसीज भी वहाँ पे लगातार भागों में तैनात है। एसडीआरएफ की टीम भी है।
Meanwhile, the Border Roads Organization is expeditiously engaged in relief work in the affected area. It is constructing an alternate bridge connecting Rainy Village to the rest of the state. The officials of Border Roads Organization claim that the bridge will be ready in 40 days and the road work will also be completed by then. Till then, BRO has made alternate arrangements for the village.
हमारी जो अबटमेंट जहां पर हम खड़े हैं, अबटमेंट बन रही है हमारी, जैसे ये बन जाएगी हमारा ब्रिज लॉन्च होगा, उसमें करीब 15-20 दिन लगेंगे और रोड जो है आप दूसरी तरफ भी देख रहे हैं कि वो रोड काट रहे हैं जिससे कनेक्टिविटी मिल सके, क्योंकि जो पुरानी रोड थी उसकी कनेक्टिविटी से आगे हम आ रहे हैं, तो वो जब जुड़ जाएगी तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
A team of senior scientists has been sent to Uttarakhand to probe the reasons that actually triggered the avalanche. According to Chamoli police, 38 dead bodies have been recovered and out of them, 12 bodies have been identified. DNA of all the unidentified bodies has been preserved. 166 people are still missing while 6 are injured. Various agencies including Army and NDRF are working day and night to ensure that 13 villages which have been cut off from the rest of the state due to avalanche are connected as soon as possible. News Night Desk, DD India.
Meanwhile, Chairman of Forum for Disaster Mitigation at Indian National Academy of Engineering, Dr. R.K. Bhandari, has called the foreign media reports on Uttarakhand glacial burst speculation not based on facts and generic statements without location-specific context.
Climate change is a big threat that we face. Glaciers are melting, no doubt. They are melting and they will create problems. So I would say that we should take that in that light, that it is a generic statement. It doesn't tell exactly what happened at Naina Devi in Rishi Ganga. In fact, we are all speculating. Nobody has studied them in detail, and unless we get hold of the data and go to the bottom of the truth, we would never know what really happened.
Today is the World Radio Day. The day signifies the importance of radio as a forum of communication. The theme this year is New World, New Radio, which highlights the services rendered by the radio medium throughout the crisis. On the occasion of World Radio Day 2021, UNESCO calls on radio stations to celebrate this event's 10th anniversary and more than 110 years of radio. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter and he said, and I quote, "Happy World Radio Day, greetings to all radio listeners and kudos to all those who keep the radio buzzing with innovative content and music. This is a fantastic medium which deepens social connect. I personally experienced the positive impact of radio thanks to Man Ki Baat," unquote. Also, Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar shared a video message in which he underlined the importance of radio.
पहले केवल रेडियो था, बाद में टीवी आया, अब इंटरनेट और सोशल मीडिया आया, लेकिन मेरा विश्वास है कि एक आने के कारण, नई चीज आने के कारण पुरानी नष्ट नहीं होती। रेडियो का प्रसार बढ़ रहा है, लोग रेडियो सुनते हैं, खेत खलियान में काम पर, चाय की टपरी पर टीवी नहीं दिख सकते। सोशल मीडिया एक मर्यादा के बाद टेलीफोन में पढ़ते रहना असंभव होता है। रेडियो सुनना ये एक अपनी विरासत भी है और रेडियो सुनना बहुत आनंद भी है।
Prasar Bharati CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati today said the ongoing trial on digital radio will be completed soon, after which digital radio will be introduced on a large scale in the entire country. Speaking at the Radio Festival 2021 held in National Capital on the World Radio Day, Prasar Bharati CEO said the launch of news on All India Radio app by All India Radio has proved to be a game changer.
We are in the middle of trials for digital radio. We started off last year. Unfortunately, we got delayed because of the pandemic, but hopefully we'll get back on track this year and complete the digital radio trials so that we can bring digital radio to India in a full-fledged scale. At this point, we have limited digital radio. We have about 25-30 odd digital radio transmitters, DRM transmitters, which can, where you can, on one frequency, listen to multiple services. So on a trial basis, to create awareness, we are putting some specialized content. India never had a 24/7 news stream for radio. So that we've started on a trial basis. It's available on digital radio.
Rashmi Samant, alumna of Manipal Institute of Technology, created history as she was elected the Oxford Student Union president on February 11th. She is the first Indian woman to occupy the position of president of Oxford Student Union, and now how emphatic her victory is evident from the fact that Rashmi bagged more than the combined votes of the other three contestants for the post, and she received 1,966 of the total of 3,708 casts for the position of president, which is more than all the other candidates combined. According to her manifesto, Rashmi intends to lobby the university and conference of colleges to remove all statutes proven to be imperialist. Her goals also include COVID-19 interventions for all, access to quality mental health resources, and decarbonizing the university. The top United Nations human rights body on Friday called on Myanmar to release Aung San Suu Kyi and other officials and to refrain from using violence on people protesting against the military coup. The 47-member Geneva Forum adopted a resolution brought by Britain and the EU unanimously without a vote. However, Russia and China said afterwards that they disassociated themselves from the consensus. Myanmar's military on 1st of Feb seized power after detaining Suu Kyi and other democratically elected leaders. And let's get on to some latest news coming in from Myanmar, where various anti-junta protester groups, in fact, they all came together in the Myanmar capital on Saturday to rally on the 106th birth anniversary of General Aung San, the late father of ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Thousands of protesters, which included ordinary people, student union members and athletes, joined the Saturday rally. They marched in different areas of Naypyidaw. On Friday, supporters of ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi clashed with police as hundreds and thousands joined nationwide pro-democracy demonstrations in defiance of military junta call to halt mass gatherings. United Nations Human Rights Office has said that more than 350 people, including officials, activists and monks, have been arrested in Myanmar since 1st of Feb coup, which also includes some who face criminal charges on dubious grounds. Friday's mostly peaceful protests were the biggest so far and came a day after Washington imposed sanctions on generals who led the takeover. 3 people were injured when police fired rubber bullets to break up a crowd of tens of thousands in the southeastern city of Mubalimin. More international news. Donald Trump's lawyers wrapped up their arguments at his impeachment trial on Friday, focusing on Trump's January 6 speech and accusing Democrats of wanting to eliminate a political opponent. The defense case followed 2 days of presentations by the 9 House of Representatives, Democrats serving as prosecutors, although Trump's lawyers argued that his remarks were protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which ensures the right to free speech. Trump is on trial in the U.S. Senate after a fiery speech to his supporters before the 6th of Jan attack, in which he repeated his false claims that his November 3rd election defeat was due to fraud and urged them to fight like hell, quote unquote, before hundreds stormed the building, leaving 5 dead, including a police officer. On to some cricket news now. Rohit Sharma's brilliant 161 coupled with Akinyi Rehane's 50 helped India take day 1 honours in the second test against England at M.A. Chidambaram Stadium. India was at 300 for 6 wickets at stumps. England was brought back to knock off 6 wickets, but not before the Indians have been placed on high deck on a difficult dust bowl track that has begun to turn sharply. Meanwhile, Rohit Sharma's stupendous 161 and Akinyi Rehane's calm 61 knock put India back on the top order after England blew away the Indian top order. England stuck tries to get rid of Shubham Gill, Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli after India won the toss, opted to bat first. And the waiting hours are finally over for the cricket fans in India. The India vs England second test in Chennai marked the return of spectators in the stands after a gap of 11 months since the COVID-enforced break.
Cricket is slowly getting its pace and also the vibrancy back on ground It started with players chasing the red cherry in front of empty stands. Now finally the stadiums are getting their voice and drama back on the stands, as was evident on the first day of the second test at Chepauk. Spectators were allowed for second India vs England test match in Chennai after the union government's fresh COVID-19 guidelines permitted crowd attendance at 50% of the capacity at sporting venues. This is the first time fans are returning to stadiums in India since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Indian cricket fans who have had to watch matches on TV since the enforced break due to the pandemic were back cheering for their heroes from the stands. According to the authorities, wearing a face mask and maintaining social distancing are mandatory during the match, and even after that. Team India played the last limited overs series in February 2020 against Sri Lanka at the home ground when the fans were allowed in the stands. Since then, cricket came to an abrupt halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. By the time South African team came to India, the situation regarding corona worsened and the 3-match ODI series was cancelled. The ball has turned a full circle, and when Chepauk opened the gates to allow fans inside, it heralded a new beginning of sorts for the most loved game of India. Sports Desk, DD India.
And finally, with the message of eat, drink and be merry, 3-day rule of mythological King Momo begins in Goa with start of carnival in Panaji. This year, Eric Diaz, a portly entrepreneur who runs a restaurant in North Goa's popular Candolim Beach belt, is chosen as King Momo. Carnival involves public celebration in the form of long, continuous parades of coloured floats that you see right on your screens with masqueraded dancers. This year's float of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting on COVID vaccine awareness and Atmanirbhar Bharat also participated in the carnival. This year, carnival is held in state's 2 major towns, Panaji and Margao, on 2 consecutive days. Colourful visuals out there. Well, India has had its moments when little children have fallen into empty wells or boring holes. But a similar incident was reported in Syria, where a girl fell into the well and was later rescued by a special civil defense team. The volunteer Asif conquered the hearts by rescuing the little girl. He later told that it was very difficult to reach the well. That little girl fell due to the well's top was narrow. However, he reached her from another well, which was thankfully connected to it. Video footage clearly shows that the well where the girl fell was very narrow and it's pitch dark out there. To know why we say in India, "Jaakho rakhe saiya, maar sake na koi." Well, look at these visuals. Watch the moments which meant the world for 4-year-old Besmi Kuma.
يلا يا عمو يلا يلا جيتك يا عمو جيتك جيتك حبيبتي جيتك تعي شو اخذوا لعبتك هلا بجيب لك وحده بدالها اسامه لا خافي نزل كابل وصلك الكابل اخوي يا رب يلا ما في شيء يا رب وصلك
And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of News Night. We'll be back tomorrow, same time on DD India. Meanwhile, stay tuned with us. Namaskar.